Later in the story, nearing the end, he's standing outside of a church and hears the organ music. And he experiences this moment of genuine transformation and decides to change his life. But the tragic irony of this moment is this moment that he decides to pursue real freedom, he finally gets arrested.
Welcome back to the Rooted Minds podcast, where we come together as a family to talk about books, and in this season, some really important short stories. And in today's episode, we're talking about a really special one, The Cop and the Anthem by O. Henry. And Alyssa's going to lead us in this.
Yes, this story is a crazy story. It can be kind of sad if you read it without hope. So today we are going to be talking about the hopeful message that you can actually find in this story. This story follows Soapy, a homeless man in New York who desperately wants to get arrested because he wants to have a warm, comfortable winter season in jail with food and shelter. So he's doing everything he can to try to get arrested. And this story, we can find surprising spiritual themes to our own faith journey in. So we're going to dive into that today.
I think it's just really fascinating that the tenderness that you've approached this story with, because I remember reading this story and, there's so much playfulness in it. A lot. It's easy to not see the humanity and find the irony entertaining.
Yes.
And miss kind of what you're drawing out in this sadness of watching this story with this homeless man.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is funny because he does have this ironic kind of dark humor. But the humanity is important to pay attention to.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he tries all these different things to get arrested, like breaking windows or eating without paying, causing disturbances. And each way he fails at getting arrested in ironic ways. Later in the story, nearing the end, he's standing outside of a church and hears the organ music. And he experiences this moment of genuine transformation and decides to change his life. But the tragic irony of this moment is this moment that he decides to pursue real freedom, he finally gets arrested. So that's kind of the sum up of this story.
Yeah, he gets arrested for hanging out outside.
He wasn't doing anything wrong.
He was loitering.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's part of the irony of it.
As the reader, you're like, no, I can't believe... no, Soapy, unreal.
I might have said that out loud while I was reading it.
Yes, it's this tragic moment. But I just want to take a minute to talk about Soapy's perception of freedom.
Yeah.
And what he kind of believes represents freedom. And through the story, I see it as he believes jail represents freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. Because he's out in the cold and he's focusing so much on his exterior circumstances, external circumstances, which is valid. He's homeless and doesn't have anything to provide for himself. And so he sees his way out as jail.
Exactly. He sees the jail as this pillar of freedom and salvation from his circumstances.
Yeah, which honestly, I haven't experienced that level of poverty before. And so I've never considered that as a way to find comfort or safety.
Well,
jail.
And a lot of times in modern days, we have a lot of homeless population in places where you can live outside all year long. Because that is a real issue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of the tyranny of the elements.
Exactly.
If you're in New York City, you cannot just sleep in the cold outside.
Harsh.
So true. That's
well,
a good point.
and there's this balance for him in the fact that there are shelters, but shelters require something of you. I have to give up my independence, or I have to tell you why I'm here, or you're going to try to fix me or solve me. And that feels like slavery and not freedom. If I just go to jail, they're not going to mess with me. They'll leave me alone.
Take care of me too.
That's a very good point.
Give me shelter. Yeah.
And that kind of draws out this deeper truth that while he sees prison as freedom, he's actually already imprisoned by his circumstances or his limited imagination or his desperation. And we can do this even with different circumstances. See, like we're unable to see beyond our immediate needs and
Yeah.
cannot envision a better future.
It's so interesting to me because like when you think about the way that he's approaching this problem, like he has these like skills, I guess, that I can sort of see in him that are like, he wants to be taken care of. He wants to go to prison because he sees that's where you'll find his comfort. But it's interesting to me because he's seeing a problem. He has a vision for how to solve the problem and he's taking action on it, So it's
Right.
like he has these like skills to be able to,
Crazy.
I don't know, like take care of himself or like
Yeah.
you said,
Which just reveals the deeper truth that he's imprisoned by his
Mhm.
limited imagination and
Yeah.
desperation.
Yes.
And that desperation really is a big driving factor for him. And we can relate to this. Like when we're desperate, we make choices that bind us rather than free us.
Mhm. No. Well, I was just thinking, you said a second ago that the prison was where he would find his comfort.
Mm,
And it's like, he's looking for something. And
Right.
that comfort felt like a powerful word to use because
Mm.
generally when we're feeling desperate, overwhelmed, kind of overpowered by our emotions in some way, what we want is comfort. We want to have a measure of peace or something to ease that and kind of intense.
Or at
sort of
least
feeling.
for the burden to be taken away,
Yeah.
whether or
feel
not it's
like-
replaced with anything.
relief might be a good word to define that.
Relief is, yeah.
I'm looking for something to alleviate my pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
massive distress and you've got to alleviate that. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and there's that allure of I don't have to think about what I'm eating. I don't have to think about whether I'll be warm or
Right.
not.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I can just go into like autopilot. And I feel like this was a common practice in this time. This actually is what
Mm.
people
Yeah.
did
Yes.
because it was a way to take care of yourself for somebody else to take care of you.
I'm like,
Yeah.
you don't have to pay to be in jail.
Right.
And it's so flipped upside down that prison, something that actually is enslaving him in a way, taking away his
Mm.
freedom, is reading to his mind, like translated as freedom.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And that
Mhm.
is, I think, some power of desperation, what it can do to flip the narrative and start
Yeah.
rewriting.
Yeah. Seeing something that is a prison that looks to you like freedom.
Well, we've talked
Exactly.
about this like in brain science, where when you feel like you're alone, when you feel like nobody cares about your situation, then the way that you explain things, like your verbal processing, is disconnected from truth.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
you start making up scenarios and your mind starts trying to make sense of what it's experiencing. And a lot of times what comes out is very illogical,
Mm,
although it seems highly logical
Wow.
Right.
because you're filling in the gaps, but the gaps are too big to fill in.
Yes.
Feels
Yeah.
very correct.
Like your
Oh, yeah.
peripheral vision, your brain just kind
Yeah.
of fills in, kind of like auto populates like AI guessing.
Yeah.
And if you've gotten one of those things where you like expand this image and the image expands and it's like, where did
Oh,
you?
that's
That's a
weird.
seventh toe. I have no idea where that came from.
That's
Exactly.
weird.
Yeah.
But it makes me think of the idea of a blind spot too, like in a car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We think our field of vision is wide, but there's definitely blind
Mhm.
spots.
So desperation makes you very limited on what you can observe because
Mm,
you're moving faster. You just need a solution now.
Yeah.
exactly.
And so the input that you take in is too limited to actually give you truth
Mm.
on the other side.
And that's a good point, that you're looking for a solution now in desperation, and the cool thing about it is you become more open
Mm.
to different kinds of solutions because you're just looking for a solution.
Mm.
And I think this is a really cool point that relates to our spiritual journey, is that desperation can also be a door to transformation.
That's
And
good.
that's the hope, because it's often when we are at our lowest that we're finally ready to receive real help.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
think the church scene
Goodness.
shows this really beautifully, that Soapy's desperation finally breaks open to something that is more transcendent.
Yeah.
And he has the vision to glimpse that better life.
Mm.
And I think this is
Wow.
such a cool picture of our spiritual journey, because normally in desperation, we can't really see much like you're just
Yeah.
describing.
Yeah.
But something that is transcendent, like the Lord, like God, and how Soapy interacts with that
Mm.
through the organ playing in the church.
Mm.
It breaks through your limited perspective and gives you
Yeah.
this glimpse of a different kind of life or hope.
Well,
Yeah.
I wanted to make a comment about that again too, because the church seems to represent in that case like the power of a peaceful person, because the Lord can be that for you, right? But also someone else can be that for you, and suddenly you feel like you're allowed, you have permission to notice your desperation and be
Wow.
humble to say, I need help.
Yeah.
Wow, because that was really what he was trying to escape from, was having to ask for help.
Yeah.
Because if you have to
Wow.
ask for help, then you have to humble yourself,
It
and you're at
Wow.
the
reveals that you
mercy
didn't do
of
it.
the person that's helping you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
so good.
that's where he was saying, I want to be free from having to rely on
Yes.
anybody else.
That's
Even though I'm
big.
relying on the prison system, I chose that.
Right.
That's different.
And that makes me think of just like the concept of like being your own island. He's literally trying to get to the island, which is where the
The prison is, yeah.
and which is just
Crazy.
really interesting to me, like just the contrast of like
yeah.
him trying to be him not able to be self-sufficient, but wanting to still be and like maintain his pride, but in trying to maintain his pride he's like lowering it because he's trying to get to jail. Like it's interesting.
So
Yeah.
good. And how does this reflect our spiritual journey
Mm.
and how we interact with Jesus? Like we're saying, it like takes that humility to say I need help.
Yeah.
But what are some parallels we see there?
Well, I feel like personally, I feel like there's almost like in that desperate like mindset and like spiritually, I feel like with the Lord, it's like just from my perspective, like the Lord is always good and always merciful. But from my perspective, I can get like desperate, like I just need your help now. Like, please, Lord, just like help me now,
Yeah.
And the thing is like the Lord's timing is perfect, And sometimes what I want the timing to be is not his perfect timing. And so like I think for me sometimes even I can be like Soapy and either not asking because I've been burned by me thinking his timing wasn't on what I thought, and so I don't ask him, or it just makes me think of also like the concept of hope, because hope is scary, and if Soapy has been in this situation for a long amount of time, I feel like you get more and more into despair, and
He's afraid of false hope. He's afraid
Yeah.
of his needs not being met, so he's afraid to ask,
exactly
because that is a painful thing. And what he's
Yeah.
already experiencing, we don't know why he's
Mhm.
homeless, what this circumstance truly is. We only see a
Yeah.
small glimpse.
And just really quick, lastly, I think it makes me think of we were talking about in a different book that hope is what makes you human, and like him almost rejecting the hope and then finding it again is like him finding his humanity again, because in the lack of hope he was wanting to go to a place where he couldn't be fully human.
Dang.
That's
good.
so beautiful.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think that's very true, like about Jesus, is he, like, God designed us as humans and desires for us to be fully human. And that's such a powerful image that prison takes away what was like the fullness and beauty of our humanity.
Yeah.
And freedom is actually what brings us into that humanity.
Because we weren't
Yeah.
designed to just eat, sleep, and do it over
Exactly.
again.
Be
Yeah.
isolated, be
Yeah.
away from beauty, these things that you find in
Yeah.
prison. And I think
Called by a number.
yes,
Yeah.
no
No.
name. And I think the beauty of the gospel of Jesus is that he comes to us in our desperation before we've found our prison, finalized this this lifelong sentence for us to help ourselves, he actually promises and brings us the true freedom that we couldn't imagine for ourselves. In our brokenness, he comes and he meets us.
Well, we've been as a family just talking about holiness a lot lately, and just the idea that holiness is not just God set apart and cannot come near us because we're unclean, but holiness is his character that has the power to make something wrong right. Just like the light,
so good.
how the light works. The light, when you turn on the light in a dark room, the darkness has to flee. And holiness works in the same way. He can come to us and turn on the light, in a sense, and purify us without ruining himself, because of the power is greater. And so like what you're talking about, he doesn't have to wait for somebody like Soapy to become clean or straighten up his life or get his stuff together or prove himself, because there's no possible way that Soapy could ever, that I could ever do enough to receive something like that, to deserve that. I don't. But
that's so good.
Wow, so powerful. Man.
Yeah, and I think that is such a beautiful picture that changes the ending of our story versus what Soapy's story in this short story ended. Because the ending does feel tragic with him finally getting arrested when he's touching true freedom. And it makes us question, like, why does the story end that way? But I wonder if O. Henry is showing us something profound about our humanity and God's timing. And like in our Christian walk, you were talking about timing, God's timing earlier, and how it can feel confusing sometimes, or God, I need this answer now. Or like, I thought I was going to be free, but now I don't feel free. Like, this is a struggle, but it's still a struggle, and I have, like, Jesus, I thought you promised freedom. But how does this ending and the truth about what you're saying show us something different, a different kind of story that Jesus invites us into?
Well, I mean, I'm thinking about the idea that, like, if Soapy is genuinely changed, like, now he has a mission field. He's sent into the prison.
That's true.
Not as a victim of, the irony, but almost as if there could be, in my imagination, a different way that he approaches as a new man. Something he may have done in previous seasons.
And also just like the mission field of coming to people who previously thought like he did. And like understanding that to a deep level. Like, I get it.
Because we're not necessarily looking for freedom from our circumstances. We're looking for, how do you exist in a broken world? Because you're changed, but that the world is still in the process of being changed. And we have to manage that, balance that.
And I think that's the exact question Soapy was operating from throughout this entire story.
Well, and it's just such a, like, a paradigm of suffering. Like the way that Soapy suffers, even in his homelessness, like there's something that cries out for the justice of it, or the injustice of it, because we were made for home, we're made for connection. But in that suffering, like, he's brought to a place where maybe he might have said help, which would give him community, which might give him home, even though it's humbling. But, like, suffering can lead us to the right kind of life, the kind of life we were designed to live. And God can use the hard circumstances to draw us to him. In a way that peace and comfort and having all your needs met with your job and security, those financial security, maybe more American values than the ones that the Lord values.
It reminds me that there's this Bible verse that says that God the Father taught Jesus obedience through suffering. That's how Jesus learned obedience in his life on earth, is through suffering.
And so why do we despise it so much?
It's painful.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
The
painful.
cold genuinely hurts.
It genuinely hurts.
Yeah.
And somehow Jesus understood that that suffering was worth it because of the joy set before him,
Ooh.
which was his relationship with us. That was what inspired him to make it through that suffering. And I think this picture is like, this story is a picture. It's us in our life, in our spiritual journeys. We often find ourselves wandering away from home. We aren't resting in our true home, which is Jesus. We're hungry, we're lost, we're cold, and we're trying to find our own freedom. But like we've discussed, our true freedom isn't found in security or comfort or even being more of a good person.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
found in surrender to Jesus, who actually already is free and offers that true freedom to us. So I think there's such a cool opportunity and invitation to read the story with this lens of seeing how we are at this desperate place ourselves, and how Jesus takes us out of that and rewrites the story with this better life than we could have imagined.
That's so good.
And just this maybe idea to imagine where Soapy's story could continue. This is just the end of the story that we have. We don't know what happens next. So thank you
Wow.
all for listening today.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. This is so powerful. We would love to hear your thoughts, so please share them in the comments. We'd love to engage with you about this story, to talk with you about some of these concepts. But otherwise, we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks again for joining us on the Rooted Minds podcast. If you're enjoying the kinds of discussions we're having, consider joining our learning community, where we teach the arts and have many more discussions like these. But until next time, may you find joy, grace, and peace in the pages you turn.